On today's Locked On Predators, the Predators have lost 4 straight games, but fear not. We have 5 things the Preds can do right now to get back on the right track. Plus, they take on the Winnipeg Jets tonight. It's a Central Division matchup. We have got the full preview for that. That is coming up today on Locked On Predators.
Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making us your first listen of the day, everybody. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hi.
We're here.
This is what we look like. Starting today, all Locked On Predators podcasts will be available on YouTube on the Locked On Predators channel. If you don't feel like watching YouTube, don't worry. We're still going to be available on all of the streaming platforms and wherever you get us. So fear not. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor on the forecheck.com, and I have a partner in crime who I can see. Hi, Ann.
I know, you're a real person. I am Ann Kimmel.
You are not AI.
I am not AI. I am 100% human, and I am also a writer on theforecheck.com.
Yeah, so let's do some therapy for the Nashville Predators today, shall we? Yes. Because it hasn't been a good week and a half for the Preds. They've dropped 4 straight. Right after a stretch of 12 wins in 14 games, which I think is kind of the more jarring thing. 4 losses, kind of a mixed bag. You know, there's 2 outright bad games and 2 games where, you know, you kind of felt like they maybe had a chance to win, just made a few too many errors. So let's start with this, Ann. What's your concern level right now?
You know, what's funny is when I think about 4 losses in a row, that makes me feel a little bit like clenched, but I will say, when you look at the 4 losses, I agree with you. I think 2 of them were against really good teams. So I'm not as concerned. I think the Buffalo game was just a bad game. It's an 82 game season. My concern level is not super, super high. I think there are some things they can do to kind of get back in the win column. Although I will say I haven't felt like this since they started 1-4. So we're in a different zone right now a little bit, but I'm not horrified.
Yeah, this is 4 games out of an 82 game season.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing that we need to keep in mind moving forward is that, you know, stretches like this happen. We weren't expecting the Preds to just play lights out the rest of the year. We knew they were going to have bad games, little bad stretches sprinkled in here and there. And it kind of ties into a point that I wanted to make. And so what we wanted to do today, John Hynes, if you're listening, and I know you are, we have tips for you. So Ann and I came up with 5 things that we think are going to get the Nashville Predators back on track starting tonight against Winnipeg. And Ann, that last conversation kind of led me to the first point is Don't panic.
Yes.
Like, that's the biggest thing to me, because how many times have we seen coaches overreact to bad stretches, especially the Preds in the past? Yes. You know, you can't be reactionary here. You can't start, you know, revamping your entire strategy. You don't want to completely redo the entire lineup. You might want to make a few tweaks here and there, and we're going to get into that in a second. But you want to try to accentuate what has been working well for you in the past while trying to fix some of your shortcomings. A lot of coaches don't do that. You know, the line blender goes right out on the kitchen counter and everything gets thrown in there. And you have a big liquidy mess in the kitchen. You basically start changing everything that worked well for you at the start of the season. And that's something the Preds don't want to do because, hey, like I said, they went 12-1-1 just here recently. And, you know, even before that stretch, they were a very, very hot team trending in the right direction. So you want to make sure that you don't completely throw everything you did this season out the window.
No, I agree. And the one thing I will say is that I like having John Hynes in this, 4-game losing stretch, because I feel like he's really on that page too. He always talks about you don't get too high and you don't get too low. And I agree with you. I think there's this tendency to overcorrect some things. And that's not what the Predators need to do right now. No matter how it feels, you don't need to overcorrect. A lot of the things that need to change are just small little things. And I think cleaning up some small little things instead of, like you said, doing the line blender, mixing up lines, trying to maybe shift how you're playing, none of that's going to work. And fortunately, I think with the Nashville Predators and just the way that Hynes has been coaching through several rough seasons, I think he really has a good handle on, like, let's not get too high, let's not get too low, let's not overcorrect or undercorrect. So I agree with you. I think everybody just breathe a little bit and then do what we tell you to do, and it's going to all be fine.
Yeah, but I mean, on that point, you also want to give your star players a chance to kind of play themselves out of a hole. It's not like, like Filip Forsberg and Matt Duchene have been having fantastic seasons. So you don't want to all of a sudden be like, no, do this instead.
Yes.
You want to give them a chance to be like, you know what, this is a slump. We get it. We're going to give you a chance to kind of play yourself out of it.
Yeah. And so much of what the Predators have been doing has been working. So it's not time to change up to change things up. You got to kind of stick with the girl you brought to the dance. I'm just saying, Nick, stick with the girl.
I'm thinking back from past experiences, but it was kind of the other way around.
Okay.
That's a different podcast for another day.
Yeah, she wasn't good enough for you. She wasn't good enough for you, Nick.
She's quite not. And what's one thing that you would do to help fix?
So one of the first things I would do, and this sounds very, very simple, is I think that you need to reiterate shooting the puck.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's such a basic thing. Why in the world is that a point? But I think the Predators got into this thing, especially in these last 4 games, where they're looking for that one extra pass, that one extra cross ice pass. And this is something that we've seen Matt Duchene has kind of struggled with in the past. We haven't seen it quite as much this season, but it has been an issue for him. And I think we saw it in Vancouver with Filip Forsberg against Vancouver. We were at Bridgestone, where Forsberg was maybe looking to do one thing too many. Keep it simple, guys. Just shoot the puck. You may have somebody open, cross ice, but he's there for a rebound. I think keep it simple. Shoot the puck. When you have that lane, don't pause, shoot the puck. And I think that's what's made the Predators very successful is taking their shots. And they're getting high quality shots, I think, this season, way better than we've seen in the past, but they're also not hesitating and overthinking it. And I think they're in this rut maybe where they're looking to do one extra thing. Just shoot the puck, guys.
Yeah, I kind of had notes on that too. It's almost as if they're overthinking a little bit.
Yes.
And you look at the Vancouver game, 19 giveaways against Vancouver, and you kind of think, oh, they're being sloppy, they're being careless. But when you watch the tape, no, it was actually the situation where you said, where they were trying to do maybe like one too many of a thing. And, there's an extra pass when you had an opportunity for a fairly good shot. And, there's other cases where, they tried to kind of make this like big cross ice pass along the board instead of, maybe just going for a dump and chase.
Yes.
Letting your high energy guys like the herd line try to go out there and win a puck back for you. And so there's a lot of things that I think the best way to sum it up is, you want to look for the simple play.
Yes.
Sometimes the simple play works best. And when you sit back and you try to start looking for, okay, what else can I do? You wait too long, the defense catches on, you lose the puck. You kind of lose the timing of your play a little bit. And I think that's kind of hit the Predators in this stretch.
Yes, no, I completely agree. And I think, like you said, once you start overthinking it, you miss that beat of just instinctual hockey. And I think we've seen that in these couple of games where they're missing that just do it, just play the game. So I think if they can kind of get out of their heads and get back to shooting the puck, I think we're going to see a different team.
Yeah. We have more tips, John Hynes, so don't go anywhere, including a couple of suggestions on what we would do with the lineup. How much of it would you want to change? Because the how much is a key word there. We also got a preview of tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, big Central Division rivalry. First, though, want to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline wants to wish you a happy betting New Year as they continue their march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline is the #1 spot for all the sports wagering action for 2022. They got everything: football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. It's a new year, which means there's a new updated desktop and mobile website. Use it to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. All you have to do is use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen or watch of the day.
Yes.
Nick and I are back. We're here on YouTube if you want to check us out there. But we're back and we are solving the Nashville Predator problems. We have 5 things we think John Hynes needs to do to turn this 4-game slump around. We've talked about our first one: shoot the puck, keep it simple. Nick, tell me another thing. What does John Hynes need to do, or how does he need to coach something to turn this around tonight against Winnipeg?
Well, remember I said you don't want to get the line blunder out.
Oh,
But
oh
you
no.
do want to look for opportunities to freshen up the lineup a little bit. Now, not in years past, and I think a lot of Preds fans are going to kind of catch what I mean here. You take a line that's been working really well and you split them up because the attitude has kind of been, oh, well, they're playing really hot right now.
Yeah.
Maybe their momentum can carry over into some players not playing well right now. That's not what the Preds want to do here. You want to try to keep the herd line together. You want to try to keep Forsberg, Duchesne, and Granlund together because that's been your most consistent line all season. But here's about this. Johansen, Eeli Tolvanen, they've been playing great, but maybe not necessarily always popping up on the score sheet. Filip Tomasino, he is a guy who, has had some pretty good ice time, albeit limited ice time. And when he's on the power play with Johansen and Tolvanen, they've had good chemistry. So, Anne, do you know where I'm going with this?
I do, and I don't hate where you're going.
No. How about giving Tomasino maybe a little bit longer leash, put him with Johansen and Tolvanen? Because there you have a different dimension to that line. You have a guy who, I get like the argument against Tomasino this year where he's maybe not physically ready to play all those minutes. But you're with Tolvanen and Johansen, who are 2 very good, responsible players on both ends of the ice. 2 players that can kind of help Tomasino compensate for some of his shortcomings, kind of like Tolvanen was to Mikael Granlund last year. Mikael Granlund kind of let Tolvanen grow by taking a lot of the weight of that line's responsibilities on his shoulders. That's something Johansen and Tolvanen can do for Tomasino. And then, the conversation because, well, what happens to Luke Kunin? Luke Kunin with Nick Cousins, that's 2 very, very good energy guys and 2 guys that are also very good, responsible. Maybe that's your 3rd, 4th line, whatever you want to call it. Maybe somebody other than Michael McCarron is your center. Maybe Tommy Novak gets another chance. And then all of a sudden, your 4th line has a different look and feel to it. But you still have guys that can play to the identity of what John Hynes wants his 4th line to be. So it's little things like that. Maybe moving a player up, maybe giving another player a chance. Those are a couple of things that I think give the Preds a different look and maybe a little bit more energy and intensity going into these next couple of games.
Okay, I don't hate this. And normally I'm one of those Predators people who, when you talk about shifting lines, I think Nashville Predators fans are a little bit, I call it sunburned, where they're so sensitive to the idea of the line blender that you just say, hey, what about switching this one guy? And it's like you just smacked him on the back after they've been out at the beach all day.
Well, I feel like the line blender just the word brings up PTSD.
Oh, it's so bad. It was so bad. But I will say this, I like where you're going with this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think Tomasino has kind of earned an opportunity to get some of those bigger moments, have a little bit more opportunity to play up. I like the idea of Johansen and Tolvanen with him because I think he is just that little extra element of speed. He's a little bit different on that line. He doesn't play quite like Johansen and Tolvanen yet. Plus, he just needs some more meat on his bones. Can we just beef him up a little bit? But I like what he could bring to that line. And I also like Cousins and Luke Kunin together. I think you're right. So I don't hate this. And under normal circumstances, I would automatically recoil at the idea of switching things up. But this little change, I am intrigued.
Yeah, it's one or two things. It's not wholesale changes, which is what we talked about the first point you don't want the Preds to do.
Yeah.
So, yay. I'm take that. If I get your blessing, I feel like that's John Hynes has no reason not to give that.
I mean, I affirm that, and I think I really like that idea. I do. All right, so we're on a roll with that. Let's talk about goaltending real quick. Now, obviously, now I'm not going to pick. You know that Juuse Saros is our all-star, and he's had a phenomenal season. I do have a little concern that I feel like opposing teams are really finding that top shelf glove side spot. And so for me, just be mindful of that use. Like, not like you're the man. Everybody knows you're the man. Well, not everybody in the league knows you're the man, but they're going to. But there's just that spot where in these last couple games, I feel like people sort of feel like they have his number in that glove side top shelf spot. And so mindful of that. And I think defensively also just mindful of that. I don't know that there's necessarily a huge correction there, but it's just something to be aware of with the goaltending.
How do you kind of prepare for that? Like, because obviously there's enough data in nowadays with advanced stats and everything that you're able to kind of know where teams are targeting. You know, it's that because again, you don't want to change completely how Saros plays, but it's just a thing where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try to make them beat me top shelf glove side and take away 95% of the rest of the play. Because you do need a pretty good shot to beat them up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what can you do as a goaltender there? Like, what's your kind of mindset to kind of tackle that?
I guess it's not even so much that UC needs to adjust anything because let's face it, he's playing lights out for the most part. And so you don't want to mess with UC's game. But I think if just as a team, you can try to take away some of those lanes. And I know that sounds easy to do. And in the game at game speed, it may not be something that you can be completely mindful of in the moment. But I think there's just been too many open shots for that spot. And if we can kind of take away some lanes, and I think that would help a little bit. And I don't want it to become a thing where people are like, hey, this is how you beat Saros because he's so small, because I think we all know the size narrative is exhausting. But that has sort of been a little bit of a bugaboo. So whether it means kind of watching those lanes, whether it's just something for Saros to be mindful of, I don't want to overcorrect. Again, don't overcorrect, but just be mindful.
I do like the term bugaboo.
I know. It's just the most fun thing to say.
Yeah. It came back to the Destiny's Child song from like the end of 1999.
Are you going to sing it for us?
No.
Okay. That's disappointing, Nick. That is very disappointing.
I'm not even confident I remember all how it goes.
I didn't even know it was a thing. So you could sing anything and I would think it was great.
No. Okay. So next time you ask me that question, I'm just going to make something up.
That would be amazing. So speaking of making something up, not that we are giving very clear direction to some things that need to happen a little bit differently to turn things around for the Preds. What's another one that you have, Nick, that you think the Preds need to address?
you kind of hit on it just now, and that's defensively clean up. And it kind of hits more on communication.
Yes.
The big thing, and I think we saw a good example of this against Vancouver, was on that first goal, that first Elias Pettersson goal, where I think
Yes.
it was Jeremy Davies and Phil Myers were the defensive pair back there. And you saw, I think it was Myers, who looked like he was about to get on the back check, kind of hesitated, tried to go up and kind of cut him off. And then that led to a odd man rush chance the other way. And then there's nobody back to get the rebound, and Pettersson get in. And that looked to me like a case of two defensemen not really knowing where the other was going to be. You see sometimes it's like, hey, you can go and try to stop that person along the boards, try to cut off that pass, because there's going to be somebody back, kind of stepping in your spot. There was a little bit of an out of sorts play there, and it was kind of evident in a lot of the games the Preds have lost.
Yes.
Now, obviously, big caveat, there's no Matthias Ekholm and there's no Dante Fabro. Ekholm should be back probably within the next couple of games. Fabro sounds like it might be week to week. So this is going to be an ongoing thing for a while. Now, I don't know if this is a thing where it's just more practice time together can kind of help. But, it's definitely a situation in which the defense needs to be aware of each other, where they are on the ice. Otherwise, you're going to have those odd man rush chances like we saw against Vancouver, and that really played the Preds during this 4-game skid.
Yes. Yep. Well, we're almost done. We've only got a couple more that we're going to talk about here coming up. 2 more things the Preds need to do to change. And we are going to preview tonight's game against Central Division rival, the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah. So you said you had a couple more things, Anne.
I did.
Let's hear them real quick.
I did. I think we need to, and again, it all comes back to go back to the girl who took you to the dance. I think net front presence is so important. The slot is not lava. It's going to be the tattoo I get when we win the Stanley Cup. The slot is not lava.
Yeah. I want to see it just for that.
There's other reasons to win the cup, but what a bonus.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all in on this now.
Okay. So matching tattoos.
I didn't say I was going to get one.
I heard it.
You getting one.
You heard it here first, folks. Matching tattoos. I think the Predators have sort of gotten away from that net front presence on offense, and I think you're missing out. Luke Cunnin in front of the net is one of my favorite things to see. Ryan Johansen net front is always working, and there are great opportunities there. Granlund screens, Duchesne for tip-ins, and I think you've seen these last couple games where the offense, there has been times where there's just not been anyone in that land. And so for me, I think, let's get back to getting some people net front on offense, because good things happen. Might not be pretty things, but we don't need pretty. We need goals, and good things happen when they've got somebody up in front of the net.
Yeah, you got to get back to being gritty in front of the net. Try to get those gritty goals. That was kind of defined the Predators for so many years, didn't it? Where it's always been the ugly goals, and they have enough skill. They're certainly scoring a lot of skill goals, but there's still, probably 50% of your goals in the NHL for any given team are going to be those weird second chance, pound home the rebound, be in the right spot at the right time, deflections, all that stuff. The dirty goals, the goals where you're, going to get slashed, you're going to get hit in the lower back by a defenseman or a goaltender. It's those kind of plays where it's like you're going to have to fight to get it in the net. We talk about those being gritty plays, but in reality, those are about half the goals any team is going to score a year. There's going to be like those highlight reel goals and the odd man rushes, but this is the Preds' bread and butter. This is where they have done so well, is they have guys who can put in, the garbage goals, so to speak.
Yes. So let's have some more of the garbage goals for sure.
More garbage.
More garbage. And the other thing, and this is just a reminder and a basic thing, is get back to being, on the forecheck. It seems like Yes, it seems like it's taken the team a little while to sort of get to that part of their game. And I think if the Predators can start the game, playing on the forecheck, again, like you said, let's talk about what is this team's bread and butter for their success. It's been this. It's taken them a while in some of these games to establish that kind of play. In some of these losses, they really haven't been able to establish the forecheck. So let's get back to that and start from puck drop. And I think that would make a huge difference for the team.
That's where those gritty guys are going to come in handy too. Like, we mentioned it, like dump and chase isn't bad when you have guys like Luke Cunnin, like Tanner Jeannot, Yakov Trenin, big physical guys that can go and win you a puck. So no, I definitely don't agree with that. Well, we're going to have an opportunity to see some of these suggestions play out tonight. Preds have the Winnipeg Jets at Bridgestone Arena. Always interesting when the Preds and Jets play each other. There's been some memorable games in the past. There have been some chippy games in the past.
Yes.
These are two teams that, even though the rosters and look are different, still probably don't like each other too much. And I mean, this, you talk about gritty. This is going to be a gritty game for both teams tonight.
Yeah, this has the potential to be one of those rock'em sock'em robot games. And they're not entertaining.
Yeah, that's true.
So the Winnipeg Jets are coming in. They've got a couple of guys out of the lineup. Nikolaj Ehlers was injured in the last game against the Capitals, so he's going to be out. And he's, been pretty productive for them. Got Connor Hellebuyck in goal, and it seems like how he goes, there go the Jets. So there's some potential for both teams really are going to need to dig deep, to get some momentum and to get their game going tonight. I feel pretty good about it. I don't know, Nick. How are you feeling about this one?
Well, the Jets are a very top-heavy team.
Yeah.
They score, you look at the numbers and it's like you'll notice they don't score a lot, but they don't give up a lot of goals. So then you're like, oh, this is probably just a very defensive-minded team. But then you go through some of the stats and, you see guys like Kyle Connor having a 40-point season already and Mark Scheifele scoring at a point-per-game pace and a lot of guys with a lot of point totals. And then you're like, that's kind of weird. And then you kind of dig in deeper, and the depth just isn't there for Winnipeg like it has been in the past couple of years. You had guys like Chris Tanev, unfortunately, back when the Predators played the Jets in the playoffs, who was a Preds killer. He's not there. Roslovic's obviously not there anymore. And so the Winnipeg Jets really haven't found guys that can kind of step up and take on a secondary role. The other thing is just the defense. I mean, this is a team that had a complete defensive overhaul over the past few years. Jacob Trouba and Dustin Byfuglien, Tyler Myers, those days are gone, baby. Like it's a completely different thing. Nate Schmidt, I think, has helped a little bit, and Neil Pionk has. God, I still don't know how Jets fans feel about that trade. Looking at Pionk. But it's definitely a step down. And there's just not a lot of solid players on the back end coming up in the pipeline. So I mean, the Winnipeg is a team that, they have their stars. The stars are going to win them some games. Like you mentioned, they kind of go how Hellebuyck goes. They kind of go how the top two lines go. But beyond that, they need other people to step up. And so far, it really hasn't happened yet. And that's why the Jets are kind of stuck in the middle of the pack this year.
Yeah, and they really are a team who I expected to be a little bit higher in the Central Division, a little bit more competitive. Now, I don't want to get overconfident going into the game tonight because that never works out well for anybody.
Like Buffalo.
Like let's check ourselves before we wreck ourselves here. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think they're, with Ehlers out tonight, they have young Cole Perfetti, who got his first NHL goal the other night, bless his heart. And he's probably going to bump up to a top 6 line. So I think there's some room when you compare the forward lines. I think there's definitely opportunities for the Nashville Predators to capitalize on some things. And if we can get Forsberg, Granlund, and Duchesne to be productive tonight and to start the game off early and kind of set a tempo, I feel like Nashville matches up well against Winnipeg. But again, we've seen recently anything can happen. This is hockey. Anything can happen.
Well, they got to play like the Predators and not play to their competition.
That's right.
That's kind of been the big whoopsie daisy over games like Vancouver and Buffalo, as the Preds have gotten away from playing Preds hockey. And so that to me is going to be the key, is how are you going to play, against a team like Winnipeg, who's maybe not as sexy as like a Colorado or St. Louis.
Yes.
But they're in the Central Division. It's a division rivalry. And this is still very much going to be a game that counts in the standings. So yeah, how are you going to come out and play? Like, are you going to kind of come out with a new energy, or are you still going to play exhausted like you did the last game? So it's definitely a mindset game for the Predators for sure.
It is. And I think if they can come in with a clean palate and a little bit of rest, I think we'll see some corrections and hopefully 2 points coming the Predators' way for sure tonight.
We'll see. Well, it's 7:00 Central puck drop. We will have a full breakdown of the game for you coming up tomorrow. Plus, Anne has cookies for her player of the week. I would like cookies sometime as well.
Okay.
That's a whole another podcast. And in the meantime, where can the people find you online?
You can find my work on theforecheck.com, and you can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
I'm Nick Morgan. You can find me on theforecheck.com as well. Also find me on Twitter at _NSMorgan. Also be sure to follow the show at LO_Predators and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are the Locked On Predators podcast. Just search us. You'll find us. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back tomorrow with postgame. Thanks, everybody.